This is a single brick, but in this video I bought thousands of these to create one of the craziest and most illegal Lego skyscrapers. So let's start from scratch. Step 1 is the planning. First of all, how do we achieve such an elegant shape? I've had the idea of creating such a building for a long time, and for me the most obvious approach has always been the one where each floor is slightly moved from the one below, which would definitely work technically, but I always thought it could look better. So how do we make the impossible possible? We break the Lego rules with an illegal building technique. The entire building technique consists of just this one brick. If you connect 4 of these pieces together and continue building upwards, you already have a small spiral shape. Okay, that works, but we need a lot of these bricks for a whole skyscraper. So I looked for something appropriate on Bricklink, and after a few days the package arrived. Although it had to be delivered from Slovenia to Belgium, it was still the cheapest option, even with the shipping costs. But now let's open the package. In total there are 3,500 of these 1x2 bricks. First we need to start with the basic structure, and what follows is simply stacking one brick on top of another, something that every idiot can do. So to speed things up, my brother came to help. But it soon became clear that something wasn't quite right. The whole thing wasn't rotating enough. It seems that the building is much too wide compared to the prototype. So I decided to destroy the whole thing, which wasn't quite easy, and started over. This time there are a few bricks less in width to see if it rotates more. Besides, the previous base was simply too wide for the city and also for the proportions of the building itself. And slowly you could see a small difference. But the higher it got, the clearer it became that more is possible. While I was doing my math, I noticed that the angle was my problem, which was simply much smaller than the angle of the prototype. To get the right one for the spiral this time, we used these 4 pieces and attached them slightly differently than we did it with the ones before, so that a much larger angle with a much bigger curvature is created, almost as large as the curvature of the prototype. And you can already see a very good difference with this height. Now all we have to do is bring it up to the point where the 4 sides are turned 90 degrees. We won't be able to equip the interior of the building because it would be too expensive, but it would also be technically very hard with this building technique. We consciously focus only on the exterior of this building. In time there are less bricks and we have almost reached our desired height, and after stacking and retrying for a few years, the basic shape is completed. There's simply no better building technique that matches the shape so precisely. And now look at these perspectives. Wow. How smoothly it runs upwards from above, and how perfectly everything twists without seeing any edges. Although I plan to glue the interior with an opaque film, because I thought you could easily see through the entire building. As it turns out, that's simply not the case, so we can thankfully skip that. What remains to be done now is a proper finish of the roof and the complete lower part. At first I thought of starting with such a pointed roof, which is almost impossible because the bricks are facing in all directions. The only best part for the roof is to work with such wide brackets at the edge. As you can see, it fits perfectly and is stable. Maybe I can do something with these fences here, depending on how everything will fit together with the lower part, because I still have no idea what it should look like down here. Let's start with the required area. To ensure that the building remains stable during transport, we make the entire base plate slightly thicker. We use light bluish grey bricks for the outer visible edge and any 2x2 bricks inside. So now all we have to do is use a bunch of plates. And now we have our stable base plate, on which these 4 pillars will stand, with this platform on top. And now all that remains is to build the lower part. But since I don't have a precise idea for that yet, let's just try a few things. Maybe something can be done with these. But after a few hours of experimenting and seeing what I came up with, I decided to start all over again. After a few days, I found something useful on Pinterest where you can get such rounded window frames. However, I only have black pieces for the whole thing. So let's see if it fits like this or if we need to reorder bricks. Also, I'm running out of pieces to get the windows on all 4 sides. That's why we have to temporarily use regular bricks and panels for the rest. And now that we see the whole thing, I must say that I can imagine it much better in white. That means we ordered the parts for that in white. And after a few days the bricks were there. In front we build a sliding door that can easily slide between these grey parts. As an Easter egg we hide the microscale version from the inside, but the whole thing doesn't stand very securely, so it goes into the corner down here. On this support come these bow-like pieces that should give the windows the right shape, which will be placed here soon. And now it's time for some ASMR. Now we can also insert the windows, which are actually made of a garage door, but fit in perfectly. Only the back is missing now, so let's finish that quickly. At the top we adjust the whole thing a bit more precisely, so that the spiral can be placed perfectly on top. Okay, and with that a dream is realized, but it's not without risk.